This is another Poet at War General Report. And here's your General, Joshua David Ling.
Good luck.
Hey everybody, what up? It's your General. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit, as I do at the first Friday of every month. Had a lot on my mind today. A lot of different things. I had an idea of what I'm going to say coming into this, and it's changing somewhat, but I feel like I just need to verbally process this one. So just stick with me. I'm gonna buy a fire pit, marshmallows, we just did all that. The fire is dying down. Today's been interesting. A bunch of hurting and sad people in the brood. And my original topic for this was gonna sound really, really harsh to a lot of them. But I don't mean it in that way in any way, shape, or form. And I think I am going to still talk about some of it, but with a little bit of a different twist on it. The original kind of title I had in my brain was something around Don't Be a Black-Pilled NPC. That's a little rough. That's a little harsh. I have someone dealing with issues pertaining to people they love, and people who are mourning the loss of those passed away, and were very comforted by my poem today. When It Rains, It Pours, from the beginning of the 3rd episode of Guardians of Atlanta. Had a friend who's just lonely. Very close friend, who, I don't know. I think he just feels like he doesn't fit in various places. And like, all this time, I think a lot of it is fake. A lot of what people put themselves through is fake. Now, obviously, losing a loved one and mourning them, and dealing with close loved ones that aren't necessarily behaving properly, and even being lonely, like for real. Especially when you're physically isolated, right? That's very real. It's very real. Rich Mullins is really great at writing about that. I mentioned it recently from on one of my TikToks, talking about it's from Land of My Sojourn. Nobody tells you that when you get here how much you're gonna love it and how you'll never belong here. Got a lot of friends, close friends, dealing with that kind of thing. And I get it. I do. And I want to grieve with them. I want to hold their hand. I want to tell them it's going to be okay, even when it's not okay. And that's something that I'm not super great at, but I'm working on it, and I think I'm getting better. At the same time, I think a lot of fake extra stress that might not even be your top focus, you know? It just compounds and aggravates everything. You got your fear. Everyone knows about the fear-mongering from the media, the doom scrolling, all that other kind of stuff. So there were two main topics that I really wanted to get into about not being a black-pilled NPC, which I know you guys aren't. If you're watching this right now, chances are you're probably not a black-pilled NPC. Chances are actually pretty good. I mean, you're watching a guy with a top hat and a beard. I know black-pilled people would say, doesn't really matter at this point, but, I mean, come on. You're at least, you at least find me ridiculous. So, I think that vertical video format, short form. And the algorithm by which you're flipping through channels and it serves you something up can be a good thing. Is it currently in any way, shape, or form on any of the major platforms? No. No. Does it help with discovery? Oh, yeah. It's one of the only ways I'm growing right now. Is it particularly suited for long-term growth? I think so. I think it has to evolve. I think the ethics have to change. And people need to stop being so greedy. That's just a blanket statement. I posted a meme recently about how TikTok, a youth pastor says, "Oh, TikTok's nothing but dancing girls in bikinis." Bro, it's an algorithm. It's going to serve what you go for. And yeah, if you're a young man, like most youth pastors are, of course it's going to be the default. I'm not even arguing about defaults. There's people who have to fight through defaults to get anything worthwhile, and for some people that's not a worthwhile business transaction, because it's your attention that they're vying for. The dollar has gone down so much that eyeballs are almost worth more than any kind of federal currency. That's the kind of world we're living in, and that's going to continue to be the case in many ways. And we're going to look at more and more ways to monetize eyeballs again. So, with that being said, the algorithm is going to serve you what you want based on your attention. If you're doom scrolling and watching something and getting hooked into things that are, end of the world stuff, or bikini babes, or anything like that, hoarder stuff, mental health TikTok, pride stuff. There are conservative people who get hooked in on the pride stuff and think that's the only thing on TikTok. You have to stay on the things that you want to stay on. Now, is it worth it? That's your call. I'm completely for anyone who wants to make the conscious call that they don't want to do any vertical video scrolling whatsoever. But do one of two things. Build your own platform that's better, or find something more productive to do. It's that simple. I see a lot of people who aren't doing a whole lot of productive, or they're just slamming their head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over like an insane person. You might not be able to do what you want to do. I've been on the precipice of going to work at Waffle House for quite a while now. I'm still not against doing that. I'm not against cleaning toilets. There ain't nothing wrong with any of that. I've done it many times. And I'm sure I'll do it more before I die. But I'm thinking long term. I'm building something that my children can build off of. That's this poetry. The poetry you guys have seen on this channel, on my website. I want them to have something to build off of. For those of you who watched the broadcast this past week, I talked about the Starry Hearth. It's a crazy project. It's going to be millions of dollars, literally. But we're starting small. And we're taking one step at a time. One step at a time. That's a pretty good analogy for what shorts can be. Not what they are, but what they can be. Shorts, reels, TikToks, whatever you want to call them. The other thing that I've seen a lot of doom and gloom on, even from people that I really admire, calling AI one of two things: the overlord that's going to destroy us, a la science fiction. Which, okay, yeah, if it gets programmed by an idiot or a person who's, bent on world conquest, which might be happening now, that could be a problem. I have issues with all kinds of applications of artificial intelligence, particularly in the area of autonomous artificial intelligence agents that are sent on missions. People have been doing this financially for a really long time, and it's doing some weird stuff to the economy. I won't go into that in detail. I do keep up with it, just so you know. It's not something that I'm ignorant of in any way, shape, or form. But the other half of this is this. Artificial intelligence in generative form for the purpose of art. Now, I'm not going to directly touch on audio today, generative audio. I'm not going to touch on voice changing stuff. I'm not going to touch on anything but specifically art, visual art. And I've talked to a bunch of people on this. I've done a general's report on this, but I want to make something clear. The process of copying something and changing it into your own form is a noble one, because you are seeking to use something that already exists to tweak and create something else. Now, people will go, copyright laws, where's the line as far as stealing goes? I think that there is more of an intent problem that we have in the law than how much of something, right? This is a qualitative, not quantitative thing. I'm not convinced of the American copyright system because it was originally created for player pianos and hasn't really been updated much since. We've had a few things that have come down the pipeline, like VHS, right? If you can see it and you can feed video into it, you can record it on VHS for your own personal use. Now, you can't copy it and sell it, but you can copy it for your own personal use. I used to make pro wrestling years and years ago. I used to make pro wrestling music videos and animated music videos, AMVs and things like that. And that was my way of paying homage, paying tribute to the thing that moved me. And yeah, I'm putting the song up, right? But a video with the song isn't going to compete with the original music video, right? Not really. So, with that as a background, when we talk about what AI is, a lot of people think it's just going on Google for you and picking up images and changing them accordingly. It doesn't do that. It doesn't have access to the internet. None of the major models do. Now, when they were originally trained, meaning given a database that they can look through for images to copy off of and switch and change, they weren't just data sets from non-copyrighted sources. And this became a problem. And there are companies that are dealing with lawsuits because of it. But especially those companies that are dealing with lawsuits have reverted to using only non-copyrighted images for their data sets. So as far as that goes, they're not stealing, right? Now, if you go in and you prove that they're stealing, fine. But they are making the claim that they're not stealing. Now, you can take them at face value or you can say, no. Fight it however you want in that regard. But the thing is, this technology cannot sustain itself on copyrighted material, just like YouTube. And you can go, oh, but all of YouTube is copyrighted material. No, it's not. It's remixed material. Now, this gets into a category of talking about the what's the term? I'm missing the term, but basically remixed stuff, right? We live in a remixed society. We live in a society that's obsessed with nostalgia and no original ideas. Nothing new under the sun, but yeah, you should make your own kind of thing, right? there wasn't a Back to the Future before Back to the Future, but there were time travel stories, and this was taking a pop action movie and a time travel story, boom, put them together. But it wasn't making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4. Right? So, where's the line on that? How do we figure that out? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. What is your intent? What is your stated intent? What is your obvious intent by eyes and ears and everything else? The judge has got to make a decision. As far as how these things generate images, they're not looking to copyright something and then change something the way we do even. What they're looking at doing is this, a generative AI art machine. What it does is it takes a picture, like of me, right? And it will squint it down to the tiniest amount of pixels and just be a blob of color. Then look at the text, see what it says, and it will try to work backwards from that blobby color out more and more pixels, add more pixels, add more pixels, paint it in such a way that it looks like what you're going for. Now, there's different artistic styles. People say, oh, you're stealing artistic styles. So, I don't see how you can steal an artistic style any more than you can sing like Johnny Cash. You're not Johnny Cash, but you can sing like Johnny Cash, right? Now, if you're copying his voice with AI, that might be a little bit different. But, like, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying someone who sings like Johnny Cash, right? They can do that for parody and satire, and they can do it for their own kind of song. Now, if they cover an entire album of Johnny Cash songs in Johnny Cash's voice in order to capitalize it, if they've gotten all the licensing, that's fine. But if they haven't, no, right? A lot of these trained sort of brushstroke kind of things, essentially, I forget what they're called, but I think they're models. That's what they're called. You know, this is one of those things that I have a problem with on one end, but on the other, Pixar has been around for how long? And everyone copies them. So when I say I have a Pixar model, it's not even necessarily a Pixar model at that point, right? So you have to think about what's competing, what is actually stealing from these people in any kind of real way. I don't think, you know, this is one of those things they say it's just a plagiarism machine. I can do it without plagiarizing. You can do it without plagiarizing. Is a gun a killing machine? Can you use a gun without killing people? Right? That's what I'm getting at with this. I won't go any further with that. The main thing that I want to get to with all of you guys, there's a million, zillion reasons why God should just flood the earth again. But he won't, because he promised, right? There's a million reasons why this world should be destroyed right now, but it isn't. It isn't up to us, as Gandalf would say, to decide what time is given to us, right? I know I'm butchering the quote, but what to do with the time that is given to us, right? I just want you guys to be right in your conscience. Even if you hate generative AI and the people who make it. Even if you hate TikTok and the people who make it. Love God and do with it what your conscience is telling you, what the Holy Spirit speaking to your conscience is telling you. You're in a war, and you have co-belligerents all around you. You have friends all around you, and some of our friends aren't going to agree with our steps, especially as artists. Especially as artists. As poets in this war. You guys I love you. I love you who watch. I love you who are in the brood. I love you newcomers who are on this exciting journey with me. We have a long way to go to rebuild any semblance of any sort of artistic culture. So, don't be a black-pilled NPC. Do, build, grow, and love God. Don't forget to love Him. Because none of this is worth it if you don't love Him. None of it, none of it, none of it, none of it. Be your family's bard. And anyone else you can get to. Do not turn to the right or to the left. And the Lord will be with you. With you. And hold you through your grief and through your fear and through your anxiety and through everything that is coming. Just as He always has been, so He always will be. We'll see you next time in the trenches on Poets at War.
Sunset.